The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council was huge. The ceiling was made of shining crystal. Lights from many stars came through the tall windows. Hundreds of different alien races were there. They had come to talk about peace and trade in the galaxy. Some were tall and covered with blue scales. Others had 4 eyes and long arms. They wore fine robes and shiny metals. All of them were proud to sit in the front rows. Then the humans entered the hall. The aliens turned their heads to watch. Humans looked different from the others. They wore simple black uniforms. Their faces were calm and serious. They did not rush to take the front seats. Instead, they quietly walked to the very back of the hall. No one spoke to them. No one blocked their way. They simply sat down in the last row. A young alien named Xyler watched them with curiosity. He was from the Drawl species. Drawl were known for their big golden eyes and sharp teeth. Xyler leaned toward his friend, a short creature with green skin. He whispered, "Look at the humans. They always do this. They never sit in front. Maybe they are too shy." His friend nodded. "Yes," he said, "they act humble. But I think they are weak. They do not belong here with us." Xyler smiled. He felt proud. His species was respected. Drawl were famous warriors. They had strong fleets and powerful weapons. To him, humans looked small and unimportant. He did not know why the council had invited them at all. Near the stage, the council leader, a tall being made of silver light, watched the humans carefully. He did not smile, did not whisper. He just stood very still. In his hand was a small device with blinking lights. It was a security scanner. When the humans passed by, the device made a soft sound. A red light flashed. "Alert," the device whispered in a cold voice. "Energy spike detected." The council leader's eyes turned dark. He quickly covered the device with his sleeve. No one else noticed. He looked around the hall to make sure no one had seen the warning. His mind raced. Why is there an energy spike? They are just sitting. They have done nothing. Xyler was still watching the humans. He saw how they sat in perfect lines. Their hands rested on their knees. Their eyes looked forward without blinking. They did not speak to each other. They only waited. To Xyler, it was strange. Most species liked to talk and laugh before meetings. But these humans were silent as stone. The large doors of the grand hall slowly closed with a heavy sound. The lights in the room changed to a softer glow. The council leader stepped to the front. His silver form shone in the dim light. His voice echoed in every corner. "Welcome, respected members of the Galactic Council. Today we gathered to discuss the future of our worlds. Trade, peace, knowledge. Let us begin." All the aliens clapped politely, but the humans did not clap. They remained still. Xyler frowned. He did not like their cold faces. He felt they were disrespectful. If they are so humble, why did they look at everyone like this? At that moment, a strange thing happened. The lights over the humans flickered. Just for a second. It was like a shadow passed across the ceiling. Some aliens turned their heads, confused. Then the lights became normal again. The council leader felt sweat on his neck, though his body was made of energy. He pressed the device again. Another soft voice spoke inside it. "Warning. Unidentified energy source growing. Origin, human sector." His hands trembled. He looked at the humans sitting so quietly. He knew the old stories the younger aliens had never heard. Stories about humans fighting wars that no other species could survive. He had seen the reports how humans once destroyed a moon to stop an enemy, but he had hoped those stories were only myths. Now he was not sure. Xyler did not notice the fear in the council leader's eyes. He leaned back in his chair. "Are just pretending to be important," he said with a smirk. "Sitting at the back makes them look mysterious. It is all an act." His friend agreed. "Yes, they want us to wonder about them. But in truth, they are nothing." On the other side of the hall, a small diplomat from the Freon species tapped her assistant on the shoulder. She pointed to the humans. "Why do they sit there?" she whispered. "Have you read the old records about them? The assistant shook his head. I heard they are peaceful, he said softly. They always say they only wish to learn. The Frone diplomat bit her lip. I am not sure, she said. I feel something cold in the air. Far above, a hidden security camera zoomed in on the humans. A secret monitor displayed the scene to the council leader's private chamber. The red letters on the screen grew brighter. Danger detected. Council leader took a deep breath. He spoke into a hidden comlink. Activate the emergency protocols, he ordered in a low voice. Quietly. No alarms. His eyes stayed fixed on the humans at the back. They did not move. They did not look afraid, and he wondered, what happens if they finally stand up? The meeting started. The council leader spoke about trade agreements and new colonies. His voice was calm, but his eyes often moved toward the back of the hall. He could not stop thinking about the red warning on his device. The humans sat very still. Their black uniforms looked almost like shadows against the bright walls. They did not clap. They did not whisper to each other. They only watched. Xyler tried to ignore them. He listened to the council leader and pretended everything was normal. But every few minutes, he turned his head to look at the humans. He could not help it. Something about them felt wrong. He noticed their eyes were always open. They never blinked. They seemed to study every detail of the hall, the lights, the walls, the exits. It was as if they were making a plan. Xyler's friend whispered, "Why do they watch everything so closely?" "It is strange." Xyler nodded slowly. "Yes, maybe they are nervous." But in his heart he did not believe that. Near the stage, the Frone diplomat felt uneasy too. She leaned toward her assistant. "Send a message to our security team," she said quietly. "Ask them to check the human ship again. Look for any hidden weapons." Her assistant looked worried. "But the humans said they only brought gifts." "Do it anyway," she said. At the back of the hall, one human moved at last. He lifted a small black device and pressed a button. No sound came from it, but the council leader's scanner in. His pocket started to buzz. He felt cold sweat on his forehead. The council leader spoke calmly into his comlink. "Report." A voice replied, "Sir, we have confirmed an energy buildup. Still growing, but we do not know the source." The leader swallowed. "Keep monitoring. Do not approach them yet." He looked up and saw one of the humans staring straight at him. Their eyes locked for a moment. The leader felt as if that human could read his thoughts. Then the human looked away again. Xyler decided he had enough. He stood up from his chair and walked down the aisle. His golden eyes shone with confidence. Many aliens turned to watch him. He stopped near the humans and cleared his throat. "Excuse me," he said loudly. All the humans turned their heads at the same time. Their movement was smooth and silent, like a machine. Xyler's voice wavered, but he forced himself to continue. "I am Xyler of the Drawl. I have a question." The human closest to him tilted his head slightly. "Ask," he said in a quiet voice. "Why do you sit at the back?" Xyler demanded. "Right. Do you think you are too important to join the others?" The hall grew silent. Even the council leader stopped speaking. Everyone watched. The human was silent for a long moment. Then he spoke. "No. We sit here because it is safer." "Safer." Xyler frowned. "Safer for whom?" The human's eyes seemed to darken. "For everyone." A chill ran through the hall. No one laughed. No one spoke. Xyler opened his mouth, but no words came out. He felt a sudden fear he could not explain. At that moment, a young alien scientist named Telra decided to prove the humans were bluffing. She took out a small scanner and walked quickly to the back row. "I will show you," she said to her colleagues. "There is no special power. They are only trying to scare us." She raised her scanner and aimed it at the nearest human. A small screen lit up with numbers. For a second, Telra smiled. Then the screen went black. Sparks shot out of the scanner, burning her hand. She dropped it with a cry of pain. The device hit the floor and shattered. Gasps filled the hall. Telra stared at the human. Her voice shook. "Impossible," she whispered. "The energy reading." It was beyond any known level. The human did not move. His face was calm. "This is why we sit at the back," he said softly. The council leader finally spoke. His voice echoed through the silent hall. No one will test the humans again. Return to your seats. Slowly, the aliens obeyed. They were too afraid to argue. Xyler stepped back. He felt small now. The humans had not threatened him. They had not raised a weapon. Somehow he understood that they did not need to. The council leader turned to face the assembly. Let us continue, he said, though his voice was weaker now, but everyone knew the meeting was different. The air felt heavy. The humans had shown a glimpse of something no one could understand. Above them, the hidden cameras kept recording. The red letters on the private monitor grew brighter, energy spike increasing. The humans sat quietly, hands folded, eyes watching. They did not look humble anymore. They looked patient, as if they were waiting. The silence in the grand hall lasted longer than anyone expected. After the human's simple answer, sit here because it is safer. For everyone, many alien leaders began whispering to each other. No one laughed now. No one looked down. At the humans, even the proudest generals kept glancing toward the back row. The council leader, standing at the center, tried to continue the meeting. But the words in his mouth felt dry. The usual excitement and pride of the Galactic Council were gone. Something had changed, and yet the humans did not speak again. They simply returned to stillness, hands on their laps, eyes forward, faces calm. They were watching, always watching. From the middle row, Xyler couldn't stay quiet. His pride burned inside him. He was from a warrior race. Drawl never backed away from fear, so he stood again and turned to face the humans. The entire hall fell quiet once more. Are you trying to scare us? Xyler shouted. What does safer? For everyone mean? Is that a threat? The closest human looked at him again. Same silent face, same silent flanks. He did not blink. I asked you a question. Xyler said louder. If you have something to say, say it. The human leader finally stood up. He was tall for a human nearly the size of a Drawl. He wore no medals, no weapons. Only a black uniform with a small silver symbol over his chest. He looked at Xyler and spoke in a quiet, even voice. You are asking the wrong question. Xyler frowned. Then tell me the right one. The human turned his head slightly, as if thinking carefully. You should not ask why we sit at the back, he said. You should ask why we were invited at all. The room froze. That question had never crossed anyone's mind. Xyler stepped back slightly. What? What do you mean? The humans? Voice remained calm. Your council does not invite new species easily. You only bring in those you trust, those you understand, but you do not understand us. He took a slow step forward. You fear what you cannot control. And yet, here we are. The council leaders stepped forward quickly. That is enough, he said. This meeting is for peace, not fear. The human turned to him, then speak truthfully. Why did you invite us? The council leader hesitated. He looked at the other members, and then finally nodded. Very well. He lifted his hand. A panel rose from the floor. A large hologram appeared in the center of the hall, showing ancient records files marked with glowing red warnings. These, the leader said, are old military logs. From the days before the council was formed, most of the galaxy has forgotten them, but we did not. The images changed, showing recordings of human soldiers fighting giant alien beasts. Black holes being stabilized with human tech, and in one dark file, an entire moon exploding under fire from a human ship. Audience gasped. These were not myths. These were real, the leader continued. We studied your history. You hide it well now. You speak of peace and trade, but once, you were something else. The human leader gave a small nod. We still are. A long silence followed. Then a new voice spoke, soft but full of emotion. I don't believe it. Everyone turned. It was Telra, the alien scientist who had tried to scan the humans earlier. I've studied war species, she said. Even the most dangerous ones. They all leave signs. But humans? You act quiet, peaceful. I've never seen anything like this energy before. If you really have that kind of power, why hide it? Why sit at the back and stay silent? The human looked at her, his voice lower now, because we've seen what happens when we don't. Her breath caught in her throat. We do not want to lead, he said. We do not want war. But if war comes, we end it. Another human stood up beside him. A third followed. The other aliens watched with wide eyes as the entire human delegation stood at once. Xyler took one step back. The energy in the air shifted again, just like before, but now stronger. Some lights flickered. A few alien machines started beeping. The council leader quickly sent a silent signal through his device. Emergency level 2. Stabilize environment. No sudden moves. The humans were not holding weapons, but every alien in the room felt as if a weapon had been drawn. Then, just as suddenly, the humans sat down again, calm, silent, as if nothing had happened, but nothing felt normal anymore. The Fran diplomat leaned toward her assistant and whispered, "They don't sit at the back because they are humble." Her assistant asked, "Then why?" She stared at the humans, voice trembling. "They sit at the back because they are used to watching the battlefield from behind. Because when they stand up, things fall apart." Up in the security room, the screen flashed again. Unstable energy field detected. Source: human delegation. The security chief turned to his officer. "What do we do?" The officer shook his head. "I don't know, but whatever happens next, we better not be in their way." The Grand Hall felt different after the humans spoke. No one whispered anymore. No one dared to look away from the back row. Even the proudest warriors felt small under the humans' quiet gaze. The council leader knew he could not pretend nothing had happened, so he cleared his throat and raised both hands. "Delegates," he said, his voice echoing across the huge room, "we have all seen the records. You understand now why we chose to invite the humans?" Xyler clenched his jaw. "You invited them because you were afraid." The council leader did not deny it. "Yes," he said softly. "I was afraid. Many of us were. But we believed it was wiser to keep them close to build trust instead of hiding behind old stories." Some aliens nodded slowly. Others looked away. One of the humans stood again. She was a tall woman with silver streaks in her hair. She carried no weapons, but her calm eyes held something older than any technology. "We did not ask to join," she said. Her voice was quiet but strong. "We did not come here to rule or to threaten you." "Then why did you come?" Telra asked in a trembling voice. The human looked around the hall. "Because someone must remember." "Remember what?" The woman raised one hand. A small black cube floated into the air. Lights shimmered on its surface. "This," she said, "is our record." The cube began to glow brighter. Slowly, it projected a giant hologram in the middle of the hall. At first, everyone thought it was just a star map. But then, red lines started appearing, marking entire star systems that were gone. Empty, silent. The humans' record showed hundreds of planets that had been destroyed. Not by them, but by something else. Xyler swallowed hard. "What is this?" The woman spoke in the same calm voice. "A memory of the wars you have forgotten." Images shifted. A giant black shape filled the screen. It looked like a moving shadow across the stars. The shadow swallowed planets as if they were nothing. Gasps and cries echoed in the hall. Telra felt her knees grow weak. "Is that real?" "Yes," the human said. "You call them by different names in your histories, but our people never stopped recording." "We remember their true form." Xyler shook his head. "This is not possible. That thing is gone." "We have not seen it for 1,000 years. That is what you believe," the woman said. "But it is never gone. It only sleeps." The hologram showed human ships smaller than the shadow, but fighting it with weapons so bright they looked like stars exploding. The humans lost many vessels. Still, they kept fighting. The council leader watched in silence, his hands shaking. He had heard legends of that darkness, but he never thought it was true. Telra whispered, "How did you survive it?" The human woman lowered her eyes. "Not all of us did, but enough remained to remember." She looked up again. "That is why we sit at the back, not because we are shy, not because we are humble, but because we learned long ago that power is not something to be displayed. It is something to be held in reserve, waiting, ready." The images faded. The cube dimmed and returned to her hand. Silence filled the hall again. Then the council leader spoke, his voice raw. Why show us this now? The woman took a slow breath. Because we detected signs that it is waking again. Every alien in the room felt their hearts stop. Xyler stepped forward. You think that thing will return? We do not think, she said. We know. She pressed the cube again. A smaller projection appeared, showing energy signals at the edge of the galaxy. Patterns that matched the old recordings. The council leader turned to his security team. Is this true? One of the officers checked his tablet with shaking hands. We thought it was a star forming, but it is not. The woman closed her hand around the cube. We did not come here to demand anything. We came to warn you, to tell you that when it arrives, we will not sit quietly. The words hung heavy in the air. Xyler lowered his head. He felt ashamed, now ashamed, that he had called them weak. Ashamed that he had laughed when they took the back seats. Telra stepped forward, voice shaking. If you knew all this, why didn't you say something sooner? The woman looked at her eyes full of sadness. Because no one ever listens until they are afraid. At that moment, the council leader understood the humans were not humble. They were not pretending. They were the only ones who had faced the darkness and survived. And now, were waiting watching, because they knew the rest of the galaxy was not ready. In the silent hall, the humans sat down again, and for the first time, no one wondered why. The grand hall felt cold now. No one moved. No one spoke. The last images of the black shadow swallowing entire worlds were burned into everyone's minds. The humans sat in silence. Their faces showed no joy, no fear, only patience. The council leader tried to find words, but his voice would not come. For the first time in many years, he felt truly powerless. It was Xyler who stepped forward, though his hands were shaking. If you knew this thing is coming back, why did you not bring your fleets? The human woman who had shown the record looked up at him calmly. Because fleets alone will not stop it.
Alara's voice was a thin whisper. Then what will?
Human closed her eyes. Understanding, unity, and readiness to sacrifice everything if needed. Her words fell like stones into a well. In the security room above, the officers were listening to the broadcast. One young technician asked in a frightened voice, Chief, do you believe them? The security chief did not answer. He only stared. At the screen where the humans sat waiting, in the hall, the council leader finally spoke. How much time do we have? The human leader in black stood again. He looked older than before, as if the memories themselves were a weight on his shoulders. Not long, he said. The energy signals you saw mean it is stirring. It could be months, maybe a year at most. Telra shook her head. How do you stay so calm? Do you not? Fear it? The human met her eyes. Fear is natural, but panic is useless. He stepped forward, and the other humans rose behind him. We are here to warn you, he said, and to offer help. You must understand something important. He looked around the hall, making sure every delegate was listening. When it comes, there will be no negotiations, no treaties. No chance to hide behind your borders. Xyler swallowed. Then what are we supposed to do? The human's voice was clear and strong. Prepare. He lifted a hand, and the black cube activated again. This time it showed images of old battles, human fleets surrounding the darkness. Firing all weapons, most of those fleets were destroyed. But in the end, the darkness was pushed back. Telra stepped closer to see the projection. How did you survive? What did you do? The human's eyes were cold and sad. We sacrificed millions, turned our best worlds into traps. We spent everything we had. He lowered his hand, and the image vanished. Do you understand now? He asked softly. We do not sit at the back because we are humble. We sit at the back because we are tired of being first to die. A deep quiet filled the room. The council leader's voice broke as he spoke. You came here to warn us, knowing that most of us would not believe you. The human nodded. That is always how it begins. Every time. From the corner, the Fran diplomat finally raised her hand. Then what is your warning? The human looked at her. His face was pale in the bright lights. My warning is simple, he said. When the shadow comes, do not think you can hide. Do not think your armies will save you. It will take all of us, together, or none of us will survive. He paused. And if you choose to ignore this, we will not come again. The words struck everyone like a blow. Telra took a shaky breath. Why help us at all, if you think we are weak? The human looked at her kindly, because we were like you once. We laughed at the old stories, believed the darkness was gone forever. His eyes turned cold again, until the day it came back. In the rows of delegates, many eyes were wet. Even the strongest warriors felt a fear they had never known. Xyler turned to the council leader. We have to listen. The leader nodded. I know. He looked at the humans. Will you stand with us if we prepare? The human leader took a slow breath. We will, but you must understand, if you waste time arguing when it arrives, we will not sacrifice our people again to save those who would not save themselves. The council leader bowed his head. Then teach us. Tell us what we must do. A. The human delegation sat down again, and for the first time, felt like the meeting was no longer a ceremony. It was a council of war. Above them, the security chief whispered to his officers, send this recording to every system, every leader, every ship. No more secrets. The technician asked. Sir, do you think anyone will believe it? The chief stared at the humans on the screen. They will, he said. When they look into those eyes, they will believe. And, in the silent hall, the humans waited, not as conquerors, but as the only ones who remembered the darkness. The recording of the humans. Warnings spread across the galaxy faster than any message before. In every system, leaders watched the hologram of the black shadow-consuming planets. Citizens crowded around public screens, listening to the calm human voices describing a war most species had never imagined. Fear grew in every corner of the stars. But so did something else, something the humans had been waiting for. Readiness, back. In the Grand Hall, the council had called a new session. This time, no one complained about the humans sitting at the back. In fact, many delegates seemed relieved to see them there. The council leader stood at the center, his voice clear and strong. Today, we are not here to debate. We are here to act. The crowd of alien representatives nodded. He turned toward the humans. You said you would teach us how to prepare. We are ready to listen. The human leader rose from his seat. He looked older than before, but there was a spark of something fierce in his eyes. I hoped that maybe, this time, the galaxy would not repeat the old mistakes. Then we begin now, he said. He lifted the black cube again. A new hologram appeared. This time, showing schematics of massive defensive stations, energy shields, and deep space detection arrays. These are the first lines of defense, he explained. If you build them together, sharing resources, you will know when the darkness moves. Xyler leaned forward. And if we see it coming, then you do not wait. You strike first, with everything. Murmurs filled the hall.
How many species?
Had always believed in caution, waiting to study threats before reacting. But looking at the humans' calm, steady faces, they understood that old ideas would not save them. Telra raised her hand. You said you lost millions when you fought it. The human woman with silver hair stood beside her leader. Because this time, you have our records, our weapons designs, and our experience. She looked around the room. But you must trust us. The council leader nodded slowly. We will. For the first time, a ripple of something like respect passed through the room. One by one, delegates stood to pledge support. The Drawl offered their largest fleets. Freon promised their engineers and energy cores. Silent Zeth delegation, who almost never spoke, finally rose and said in their musical voices, we will stand with you. Only then did the humans relax slightly. Xyler stepped forward. What happens next? The human leader looked at the projection of the black shadow. You begin building. You train your soldiers. You teach your children how to find shelter. And you prepare your minds for the truth that many of you will die, no matter what. Telra swallowed. How do you stay calm when you know that? The human's eyes softened, because we have learned something important. When you accept the worst, you are free to fight for the best. His words fell into the room like a quiet promise. Above. In the observation decks, security teams watched the humans carefully. They no longer saw them as just delegates. They looked like veterans who had carried the weight of too many battles. The council leader raised his hands again. Then let this be recorded. Today, the Galactic Alliance is born, not out of greed, but out of shared purpose. Lights around the hall dimmed as the record was sealed. One by one. The delegates pressed their palms to the central console. Signing the pact, when it was the human's turn, the leader walked to the front. He paused for a moment. Looking at the thousands of alien eyes watching him, he placed his hand on the console. The lights flashed blue, confirming that the humans were no longer outsiders. They were allies. When he returned to his seat, Telra approached him quietly. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I thought you were only trying to frighten us." He looked at her, tired, but kind. "Fear is not our weapon, it is only the truth." A hush fell as the council leader made the final declaration. This alliance will share technology, resources, and defense plans. From this day, any attack on one world is an attack on all. A new energy filled the hall. Not exactly hope, but determination. Xyler looked at the human leader. "When the darkness comes, will you lead us?" The human shook his head. "We will stand beside you. But leadership is not what matters. Unity does." And in that moment, even the proudest species understood. Humans had not come to dominate them. They had come to remind them that sometimes survival is not about strength. It is about standing together. In the silence that followed, the black cube glowed softly. The first plans for defense were sent to every corner of the galaxy, and as the delegates prepared to leave, no one questioned anymore why the humans sat. At the back, they knew, because the humans had always been the last line, the line that would not break. The galaxy did not sleep after the alliance was formed. Every world began building defenses. Massive stations took shape in orbit. Fleets drilled day and night. Energy shields glowed bright against the darkness between the stars. For the first time in history, species that had been enemies worked side by side, but no matter how busy they were, everyone kept one eye on the deep space monitors, watching for the signal the humans had warned about. And then, one day it came. The alert sounded. First on a Zeth outpost near the galactic rim. A sharp, rising tone that made everyone's hearts pound. Energy readings filled the screens. The pattern was exactly like the old records, the same frequency, same cold pulse. The darkness was no longer sleeping. In the grand hall, the council gathered in emergency session. No one argued about who should speak. They all turned to the human delegation. The human leader stood slowly. He looked across the room. His face was calm, but his eyes were sad. "It has begun," he said simply. The council leader's voice was tight. "How much time?" The human woman with silver hair checked her small black tablet. "At this rate of movement, 3 months before it crosses into inhabited space." A shiver passed through every delegate. Telra's hands trembled. 3 months, that is not enough. "It never is," the human leader said. "That is why we prepare before we see it." I swallowed hard. "Is there any chance we can reason with it? Some way to communicate?" "No," the human said. His voice was heavy. "It does not think as we do. It does not feel as we do. It consumes. That is all." The images appeared on the central display live. Feeds from the rim outposts, a black shape moved against the stars. At first, it looked like a cloud. But as the camera zoomed in, it became clear that it was something alive. An endless mass of dark material, shifting and flowing. It blotted out starlight wherever it passed. Gasps filled the hall. "It looks bigger than the last time," Telra whispered. The human nodded. "It feeds on energy and matter. It has grown." The council leader took a deep breath. Then, This is the test. If the Alliance fails now, nothing will survive. Xyler stepped forward. What is our first move? The human leader pressed a button on his wrist device. A new hologram appeared, showing colored circles spreading out from the darkness. These are the predicted paths, he said. We must evacuate every world in its way. No delays, no arguments. Tellera's eyes filled with tears. Evacuate. Entire planets. If you hesitate, the human said softly, you will lose everything. The council leader nodded, and our fleets. They must meet it here. The human pointed to a star system near the predicted path. It is the only place with enough gravity wells to slow it down. Murmurs spread through the hall. The Draw representative spoke in a deep voice. If we concentrate all our forces there, we'll be leaving other worlds undefended. That is true, the human said. But if you spread out your strength, it will destroy you one by one. No one argued further. Above them, in the observation deck, the security chief turned to his officers. Send the evacuation order. Now. In every corner of the galaxy, alarms began to sound. Civilian transports lifted off in waves. People packed only what they could carry. The darkness kept moving. It did not hurry, it did not slow, simply advanced. Back in the grand hall, the human woman activated her cube again. A hologram of a human fleet appeared. Hundreds of ships shining bright against the black shape. This was the last battle, she said. We held the line for 7 days. In that time, millions escaped. Her voice grew quiet. None of our ships survived. Silence fell. Xyler spoke, his voice low. Why did you never tell anyone this before? The human leader looked at him with tired eyes, because no one believed us, until now. The council leader stepped forward and placed his hand on the table. We believe you. One by one, every delegate did the same. The human leader nodded. Then this is our chance. Not to win, perhaps, but to endure. Looked around the room. When the darkness comes, you must remember, it wants you to panic. It wants you to scatter. Do not give it that power. Telra wiped her eyes. We will stand. The human leader looked at her with something like pride. Then we will stand with you. As the session ended, the humans walked quietly out of the hall. They did not smile. They had seen this moment before, but this time, they were not alone. The darkness crossed the edge of inhabited space exactly as the humans had predicted. From every planet in its path, transports lifted millions into the stars. Some families left everything behind home's history. Memories because they knew nothing mattered if they did not survive. In the chosen system, fleets from every species gathered. Never before had so many ships stood together under one purpose. They called it the Shield Line. Massive battleships formed the front. Behind them, carriers launched wave after wave of fighter craft. Station platforms charged their weapons to full power. At the center, a single human command ship hovered. Its dark hull was marked by old scars, proof that it had already faced the darkness once before, in the Grand Hall. The council watched from the main screen. The human leader stood at the front of the room. His face was calm. Xyler's voice was low. Are you ready? He looked at her with steady eyes. No one is ever ready, but we are willing. Telra stepped closer. Is there really no chance to destroy it? The human woman who carried the black cube spoke quietly. If it can be destroyed, no one has ever found the way. Her eyes turned to the display, where the darkness was approaching the fleet. Our only goal is to delay it, to give the evacuation time. The council leader nodded slowly. Then may every star watch over them. The human leader touched a control on his wrist. His voice went out across every ship. This is Admiral Royce. Today, we hold the line. You are not just fighting for your own people. You are fighting for every living being in this galaxy. Do not break. Do not scatter. Whatever happens, remember no darkness lasts forever. On every bridge, captains and crew listened in silence. And then the darkness came. It flowed into the system like a living sea, swallowing the stars behind it. Sensors went dark. Communications flickered. Admiral Royce's ship powered all weapons to maximum. All forces, he ordered, open fire. The black shape met the first wave of energy beams and missiles. For a moment, nothing happened then. Pieces of it tore away, burning. Hope sparked across the fleets. But then the darkness healed itself, knitting back together. Came on slow and unstoppable. Fighter squadrons dove into it, unleashing everything they had. Some vanished without a trace. Others fell back, damaged and broken. Tel-Ra watched from the grand hall, her hands covering her mouth. They're just disappearing. The human woman did not look away. It consumes energy. It feeds on it. Zyler's voice trembled. How can they fight it? By refusing to let fear control them. In the command ship, Admiral Royce turned to his second officer to begin the final protocol. Sir, the officer whispered, if we trigger the gravity well, none of us will escape. Royce nodded.
I know.
The officer hesitated only a moment before activating the sequence. Across the system, hidden generators powered up. Space itself began to twist, slowing the darkness's advance. The fleets kept firing. Every hit tore pieces away, but still it came on. One by one, ships were swallowed in black. Back in the hall, tears fell down Tel-Ra's cheeks. They're all going to die. The human woman finally looked away from the screen. Yes, her voice was soft, almost a whisper. They knew it when they volunteered. The darkness reached the front line. The first Drawl battleship cracked apart and vanished. And another. But the delay worked. Every second the fleets held the line, or transports escaped far beyond the system. Admiral Royce stood at the bridge window, watching the darkness approach. All ships, he said quietly. It has been an honor. His hand rested on the final control. When the darkness struck his hull, he pressed it. A blinding flare erupted as the gravity well collapsed. The darkness shuddered, forced back for a few precious moments. In that gap, the last transports vanished into faster than light. The darkness slowly settled again, swallowing the wreckage. In the grand hall, silence fell. The screen showed only static. Tel-Ra sank to her knees. Are they gone? The human woman closed her eyes. They are. Sleer turned to the council leader. But the people escaped. They gave them time. Yes, the leader said hoarsely. Because they refused to run. No one spoke for. A long time at last, the human woman opened her eyes. She looked at every face in the hall. This is why we sit at the back, she said softly. Because when the time comes, we are always the ones who stay. The council leader bowed his head, then we will remember them. Outside, transports carrying millions of refugees moved safely through the stars. The darkness was still there, but so was hope. And now, the galaxy knew the truth. Humans were not humble. They were waiting for the day when someone else would stand beside them, refuse to break.